Welcome to another edition of the Culture Show on IBP Media Group. And today we have a special guest. We have a Sony music recording artist, Sister Marger. Welcome to IBP Media's Culture Show. Welcome. How are you?
How are you, Emmanuel, and all you people in IBP Media? I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for the invitation, brother.
Yes, my sister. Yes, I met you during the Africa Day celebration, and you sang such a wonderful tribute to African history. So for the fans out there, they want to know a little bit about your history. We know your father's from Trinidad and your mother's Venezuelan. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your upbringing?
Yes, I grew up in Venezuela. And yes, as you mentioned, we met an African Day. A day I was very emotional because for me, it's the first time I felt that the African Day is shared around the world, thank God, because of the social media and the social platforms. And me growing in Venezuela, if you go to my Instagram, which I will invite the people that are watching us to visit my Instagram account, which is at Marger, Marger, you'll find there a couple pictures when I was a little girl. I grew up in a family, diverse family, but both of my parents are black, right? But it happens that my mother's side, there's my grandfather, and my mother's side, he's white. So it happened that I was a lighter skin. So I always grew up with this situation that where I didn't feel included nowhere. But my family and I had an afro, beautiful afro hair. I grew up with a beautiful afro that because we were the only black people in my city. So they didn't know how to do our hair. So my mom was the one who did our hair. But because we have a different hair, we had afros, people used to mock us and said bad jokes about us or turn us down. So my sister and I, we grew up with a lot of insecurities. Sadly, my sister passed 12 years ago, and but when we were growing up, she used to tell me that she wanted to rip her skin off because she knew that because we were black, we had less opportunities and we were not seen as pretty as the other girls that had straight hair or blue eyes or whatever. So there's when I had like kind of a block of that. Then I remember me crying, asking my mom I wanted to relax my hair, just because I wanted to fit with the other girls when I get into teenagers years. And then I started relaxing my hair, and I burned my scalp so many times that I started losing my hair. Then I started wearing wigs, and immediately, without knowing, I grew up. And then until last year, I found out that I was trying to wear wigs and wear blonde hair, not to look better, but I was trying to fit because I was lighter, so I was trying to fit. As in the entertainment world in Latin America, you won't see black people on TV. You won't see nobody black. Only you see black people when you see shows from America.
Right.
American people, Afro-Americans, but not Latin American black people. If you see one black person or two black people, would be too much. So me as a singer, I was supposed to do certain kind of music like Celia Cruz. Mm-hmm. And that's the only singer, like the only black singer that was recognized, or La Lupe, right?
Right.
We compare me more like La Lupe. Mm-hmm. But then there's no. And in television, me as an actress, I have no opportunity. So every time I got a phone call for an acting role, it was for me to be a maid or to be a prostitute or something like that. And I always said, no, I'm not going to keep giving that message to people. We are people like you. Mm-hmm. So I knew that, but I never really spoke loud about it because I was shy and I was insecure.
Right.
And I understood that Black people in Latin America, we are invisible. When I moved to the United States, I thought that finally I will have my chance to be seen. And then when I go to Trinidad, they see me as a Venezuelan girl, so they don't recognize me as island girl neither. So it's very difficult. So I understood, thank God, I met last year a guy who has a participation in the ONU representing the Afro-Españoles, Afro-Hispanic people, and his name is Armando Buica. He started explaining to me all the work that his organization called the Black View was doing for all the Hispanic speaker Black people around Spain, and given this information about all the struggles we have to go in the industry of the entertainment industry was being Black, right? So one day we were talking about where do we belong, and then we start talking, we are the lost sons and daughters of Africa.
Yes.
Because ships that leave Africa came to South America. The Black people made South America and then got killed. And then few communities survived in different countries. Then in the island, where is the majority of the Black people survive, but in South America, all the Black people were killed. And then only survive little communities with our beautiful culture, music, and stuff, but always with non-opportunities.
Right.
So I started speaking up to create consciousness about this situation, because there's many brothers and sisters that has no chances, that are being in poverty, that only are seen as delinquency. Oh, this is Black, is poor, it's a thief.
Right.
If they see a Black person walking the street, if they see my brother, they see me, they're gonna see, they don't care if you are Venezuelan or you're from Africa or you are from wherever part of the country, they're gonna see a Black person. They're gonna stop you.
Right.
Or you.
Did you, as you know, you've been in the music industry, so to speak, your family are musicians as well.
Yes.
And you had your first recording act when you were 14 years old. How did the Venezuela community receive you once they started to notice that you were on the path of stardom?
I think I was doing a lot of, I always been super intense and hard worker. So I think at that time, I never really pay attention. I didn't care. I was doing my thing and I kept doing it. I didn't care what people think, but the only thing I was doing was I started writing, because it was no reference in the Latin world that I can see like me. I remember me seeing Whitney Houston or seeing Alicia Keys as or Rihanna as my reference artist, like I wanted to be, because there were no Latin artists but Celia Cruz.
Right.
And then I started translating into Spanish those lyrics and making that music mine. And then I started writing my own music. Right. And I became a songwriter. And then I started doing my own music, and actually I did one of my first albums that I did as an independent artist was an album of a lot of Black percussion of an area of Venezuela where called Barlovento. That is African music from Venezuela.
Yes.
So I did an album with those sounds, and I never could put that album out because nobody understand the sound in the Latino community. They didn't, and it was not commercial, because the only commercial music was the salsa or bachata.
Right, the bachata, yeah.
Bachata, the salsa. But I wanted to do pop music, because I felt I grew up with listening to pop music, and I love Tina Turner, and I love Whitney Houston, and I love Chaka Khan.
Yes, you mentioned some legends over there.
Exactly, and yes. So for me, Aretha. So for me, it was like, I don't want to sing. I didn't really felt connected with that music, and also because in my home I grew up listening to the music that my grandparents and my father listened to, that was jazz or George Benson or even Miriam Makeba. the Day of Africa, when they were playing Pata Pata. Oh my God. Oh my God. I was crying because when I was a little girl, my mom, they call my mom Makiba. And my mom used to wear African dresses in Venezuela.
Wow. She was proud. She wasn't playing no games. She showing her ancestry right there.
Actually, when I wanted to take out my afro, because my sister and I didn't want to have afros anymore, she said, you have to feel proud of your afro. And she forced us to keep our afros until we were old enough to relax our hair. So I remember when I turned 18, I started relaxing my hair until I break it and I destroy it. But it's because my mom always give us this, that we need to be proud of our blackness. And was my mom the one who always fight when my father went to jail just because he was driving a nice car, and for them it was impossible that a black guy could drive a good car, so for sure the car was stolen. So they took out with 3 little kids, they took us out of the car. They took my dad, put it in jail until they investigate, and they find out that it really was our car.
Wow.
So I grew up.
What was that like for you to experience that, being a little girl, seeing your father being pulled out of a vehicle, the man you love, the man you look up to as the guy, and you see him as your hero? How did that make you feel?
Emmanuel, I have to be honest with you. I blocked all these painful memories, and all these memories came back last year when George Floyd event.
Yeah.
It was like a shock to me when I start remember and recreating all those painful moments that my memory erased. And then I start talking to my dad that I am so thankful. I thank God that he's still alive and we could talk and we could discuss openly this situation that we never thought about it.
Right.
And it's still so painful because that was not only my reality, that is the reality of any black person in Latin America. And we had a high education and we could speak up for ourselves. But what happened with those kids that had nothing? And that's why I'm speaking up right now. I'm trying to help my people get their self-esteem up. I remember my father telling us, you know why we black people are so powerful? You know why the people are afraid of black people? Because we are powerful.
Yes.
The only way to destroy us is destroy your self-esteem. So that's why you, daughter, have to study and prepare yourself.
Exactly.
Then nobody can tell anything to you. You have to be proud of where you're coming from, your race, your root, your ancestors. And when I spoke with Armando, and then I recognized myself as Africa is my motherland, even though I born in Venezuela.
Right.
It's like, oh my God. It's like we are brothers and sisters. It doesn't matter where we are.
Yes.
We're facing the same struggles. We are seen in the same ways. We have so similar stories of pain, of suffering.
Right.
And we have to repair. We have to heal those wounds that we have in our soul from our ancestors, and we have to rise up.
Yep.
And that's why the Day of Africa, when I was connected the whole day.
Now let's talk about your musical career. So you have a gold album. You have a gold album. Why don't you tell us about that gold album?
This is how it looks. This is how it looks.
Woo-wee. Tell everybody, the fans out there, the name of the album, and
it's old. This album, it was in 2002, and it was an album that I was a part of the show that I was, and that was the first time the national television in the Hispanic market had two Afros in the show. It was me and a Dominican guy, and I was one of the finalists. And I'm so proud of that. And
I am proud of you too. Like when I read that, I was like, what? I am so proud of you. I don't care how old the album is. It's a classic. You have a gold album. You know how many people, how many recording artists would die to have a gold album? And you reach that status. That is something that you should be extremely proud of. Tell us the process of making that album. And how did you feel about it? Did you think it would reach gold status or what?
well, I never really see what I did in the past. I don't pay too much attention sometimes. Probably is because I always looking for to be better. But I'm not only looking. I'm of course I would like to have a win a Grammy and all that. But I right now at that moment I was starting my career in the United States. It was because I was part of this reality show. The reality show has the highest ratings in history after American Idol in the in the Latin television in the United States. And I was one of the finalists, so I couldn't walk in the street. I couldn't. It was crazy, and I was so young. I wasn't prepared for that. I was very
Tell us the
shy.
name of the show.
Protagonistas de la música.
Mm-hmm.
It was like American Idol, but in the Latin side in Telemundo, NBC. So I wasn't really prepared for that, but I came from I was the lead, the main role of the musical touring in Latin America, and I was doing the Irene Cara role in Fame the musical, the Latin American version, and we toured all around Latin America. So after that, I ended moving from Argentina to Miami, and then I get to this show and I get the album, and I get a second album too after this one from the same show because it was super successful. But then I just wanted to move forward and do my own music and be my own thing like Marger, and have my own voice and not to just be part of a niche. But then with maturity, you start understanding that you have a purpose. And the purpose is, if I have a voice or a little more success or exposure, I want to use it for good. I want to use it to support the people that has no opportunities. And right now, for example, I'm working with people in Argentina and in Venezuela, people that are having a lot of suffering. So I'm giving opportunity now that I'm a signed artist with a major label. I'm working with some famous people, but I'm giving the opportunity to those people who are super talented and nobody gave them opportunity.
When you talk about the music industry and why you decided that you wanted to do your own thing, a lot of people are dying to be in this industry as well as the film industry. Tell us some of the dark times you may have had on your rise in the music industry. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I have to make a disclosure first. My disclosure is that I always try to say I have a podcast. This is sadly is in Spanish. In my podcast is called Life in Mayor Court, and where I speak there is that I always said that my experiences doesn't have to be your same experiences, and if I had some bad experience, it doesn't mean that everything is bad for everybody.
Right.
But sometimes we are searching for something that is a dream, and we think frustrated because we don't get signed, or because we don't get that prize or that Grammy or that Oscar or that nomination, right? And what is important is the path. This industry for an Afro-Latina, in Sony, we are only 3 Afro women among 200 artists, something like that. And then sometimes I'm not only facing being Afro-Latina, but also being a woman, also being not having 20 years old, you know, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
And then not doing the music that they want us exactly to do, because sometimes that things, and I have to say to you that I have to address to that, that things are changing, because I can see in my label conversations about diversity and inclusion, which
Very
I'm proud of. My label, the president of my company, Afo Verde, Maria Fernandez,
Yes.
and they are really committed to help inclusion and diversity, right? So I really want to, I named them because they are responsible in the Latin Iberia region, and they're doing their effort, and I can see it, I can feel it, because they're supporting me now that I'm doing Afrobeat. But in the past, it was impossible for me trying to do pop music, because that was supposed to be in the Latin. I was told that I was too ugly and too black
What?
to do pop music. I have to do island music,
Oh.
like bachata, because that was for poor and ugly people.
That is.
And as strong and terrible it sounds, I'm being super honest here. So for you to live with that kind of in this industry, and survive that kind of, when you're a girl, you're in your early 20s, and you are trying to strive and pursue your dream, and fight constantly with that, or being sexualized, just like, okay, it's good for you to use me and then throw me, but you won't take me because I'm not worth enough. You have to create very high self-esteem to survive, and then trying to have a very high level of values, where you cannot get corrupted in your soul and get angry, or have hate, right? But have love, compassion, empathy, and the sense of responsibility, that when you achieve something, you have a purpose to do a better work, to create a better path for the ones that come in behind you.
Yes, absolutely. On a positive note, you've worked with some very powerful artists, some of my favorites. Vertego, you've worked with Boujee Banton.
Boujee, yeah, no, but yes, I had a song with Boujee Banton and Tego Calderon.
Yes, they got I think him and Tego and Daddy Yankee have somewhat like a rivalry, or had a rivalry going on amongst themselves, I believe, back in the day. But how was it like working with Boujee? I mean, Boujee, was it before he was imprisoned or after?
That was before he was in prison. That was in 2003 or 2004. Mm-hmm. That was before he was in prison, but he was in Jamaica. Mm-hmm. And he recorded his part in Jamaica. I recorded my part here in Miami. I wrote my part, and he wrote his part. And the song is amazing, just because when Boujee sang, because I was, at that time, I was like, I didn't have the experience I had today. Mm-hmm. And that I was like a girl. I was just arrived. I was getting out of the reality show at that time, and I didn't have that much of experience as a songwriter, and I was writing what I felt like. I was like, you know, la turkey, lo que me gusta.
Yeah.
Nadie me toca como you know,
Go ahead, get it.
But, it was an honor to work with him when I knew, and I was very nervous. So I wanted to, like, you know, deliver and make him comfortable. Mm-hmm. It was good. It was good.
What advice do you have for up and coming musicians in the Latin community, or just the African community period, being a part of the music industry?
The first thing I would say is that you have to learn to be kind with yourself, love yourself, respect yourself, be grounded, keep your ego in place, keep learning, and keep trying to be your best version.
Mhm.
To have a strong spirituality, believe in God, believe, have faith, or believe in your higher light, work towards the light, in favor of the light,
Mm.
and have a purpose.
Exactly. Exactly. I couldn't have said it better. What is next for you, Marger?
My new music, I work with a producer who is a old Nigeria. So I went to Afrobeat, and I'm doing a lot of African music fusion with the island music, and giving that Latin flavor to the Afro. So I'm united in my music, Africa on the Latin side, and the island flavor.
Ah,
So I'm doing a
yeah.
mix of just happy, and I think we have been through so much during this pandemic, and so much suffering and so much things, sad things that I used to. My last album was called Immortal, which was my album, that an album that I did honor the black music, the American some classic music like Georgia on My Mind. I did a version in Spanish. At Last, um, with the Circle Be Unbroken, Since I Don't Have You from the Platters. You know, those kind of songs from the 70s and 60s, those representative songs from the from black musicians, from our music in America or North America, but I turned it to Hispanic, in Spanish. So I
Yes.
wanted to present that to the Latin, to the new generations in Spanish. And the album I recorded in Nashville, Tennessee. But then my music, but I'm turning all that to this new Marger, which I'm embracing my African heritage, ancestors, and also my island and my Latin flavor with happiness.
Yes.
Only major chords and happiness, and I wanted to do this. I said to my producer,
Hey.
"You play the music. I want people that are in the room start doing this. I just want to see this."
You want to see the show does. Hey.
And then yes, and then I don't want anybody just feeling it, going with the flow and feeling good, feeling good.
Yes, yes, yes. Tell us some inspirational words that you would say to the African diaspora. If you can speak to the entire African diaspora, what would you say to them to inspire them?
Oh my God, it's such a responsibility. Hi,
Mhm.
Manuel, why you doing?
Yes, yes, yes. Talk
My
to them,
God.
sis. Talk to them.
There are so many brothers and sisters out there that finally have a chance. Thank the platform, the virtual world, Instagram, Facebook,
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse, to speak up and then not feel separated anymore. I'm seeing more curls and afros and black faces like never before.
Mhm.
And I would like to tell them that they're doing an amazing job, but we still have to try to speak from a place of love and from a place of compassion with people who still doesn't understand.
Right.
When I've been treated, mistreated, distreated, not seen, beaten, I don't throw hate to those people.
Mhm.
They are ignorant.
Right.
It's ignorance. So I try to be compassionate with them and try to educate, or not educate. It's not my responsibility. They have to educate themselves. But I don't think is a way to hate. You don't fight hate with hate.
No.
You fight hate with love.
There's an old saying, you don't throw fire with fire unless you're willing to burn. If you're ready to burn, then go ahead. But if you don't want to burn yourself, don't fight fire with fire. And what I get from your answer of that question was we need to, us as a diaspora have a responsibility to learn our history, to connect with our history, and unite as a people. And I think that would be the beginning of change of the African diaspora.
Absolutely. And I also think we have to be united. And I thank you, Emmanuel, for this invitation, for being so kind to give me the platform to speak and for your people to get to know me a little bit. And we're not gonna make any changes if we are separate and we're fighting against each other. No, you're not Black. No, you're Latino. No, you're from Africa. No, you're from France. No, you're Nigeria. No, no. We came from the same. We have to honor motherland.
Right.
We have to be united. Sometimes sons, daughters, brothers and sisters look different than us, but we have the same blood. We came from the same.
We are the most diverse. We are the most diverse continent in the world. The fact says, no matter, we all come from this place. In fact, Sister Marger, the entire world comes from Africa. So it would be for our advantage and the world's advantage to really embrace Africa as our home and the beginning of all civilization.
Absolutely. Now is the time to tell, as I wrote in the song, to tell the story from our story, from our mouth. No story that was wrote on our behalf for convenience of certain group of people.
Exactly.
And that convenience is what it create all the suffering we had during all these years and destroy our self-esteem.
Yeah.
And that suffering still in our DNA.
Yes. DNA, right.
DNA.
Give everybody who would like to contact you, why don't you drop your social media information for anyone who would like to book you, anyone who just wants to contact you for an interview or anything like that.
Oh, thank you. My Instagram is @Marger, Marger. My Facebook is Marger Music, MARGER Music. That's as well as my Twitter, and my YouTube channel is Marger Oficial, like official but with one F. And there you find my music. It's mainly in Spanish because I'm Venezuelan. We have to change the narrative of Africa. We have to change the narrative of the Afro-Latinos, Venezuelan Black people, Colombian Black people, Uruguay, Costa Rica black people, and all American Black people.